Hi all. Level designing can be done in Unity as well as in Maya or Blender or any other 3D package. But many 3D artists are familiar with Maya or other 3D packages. So this video explains how we can do level design in Maya and export the same to the Unity in an optimized way. Here you can see a basic terrain with three different models. The pivot of the tree should be on the ground and you should keep little bit upwards so that it interacts correctly with the terrain. Freeze the values and keep all the trees in the center of the grid. Name of the tree should be tree A, tree B and tree C to make it easier to identification. Select terrain, go to modify and select paint script tool. Click on setup, write geometry paint, P as capital. There we can see a pop-up window. You can close and reopen, but while reopening, you should select the terrain and reopen. On geometry paint settings, you need to enter tree name in geometry section and terrain name in identifier section. I am keeping settings of proportion, duplicate, align and scale on. Painting on terrain, you can see tree A, you can see is planting on terrain. We can see newly created trees defined based on terrain name. So we need to rename these, select newly created trees and rename it as tree A. When you keep the name as tree 1, we may get confused. So name these things as tree A and tree B and tree C. When we make transform to 0, we can see the object moves to the center of the grid. Renaming is useful only for our reference. Inside Unity, we can replace this with any other trees or any other rocks or any other objects. This layout is created randomly. To make it more artistic way, we can select each tree and adjust. When we export all of these things together, the poly count will be high. So to make it optimized way, so for that first I am exporting this PG as a reference. So select all the objects. I am deselecting the main trees. And export selected as FBX. This is a newly created Unity project. I am exporting FBX directly into the assets folder. Now the layout is inside Unity and all the trees with terrain we can see inside. But this is not an optimized one. So now we need to export assets for optimized way. So for that, select each tree, export separately. If you have lot of models, we can use a script to select each one as separately by ML script. First I am exporting ground and rest of the trees in a separate way. Now we can see all these trees, models and ground separately in model folders. Now we need to recreate this layout inside Unity using with prefabs. Prefab is a useful for optimizing in Unity. By using prefabs, you can edit, change easily. It's like a reference in Maya, but much more like adding more components and etc. And we can reposition each tree manually by placing on top reference, but it consumes a lot of time. So first make these trees to a prefab. To make a prefab, we need to drag and drop into hierarchy and then to a prefab folder and click on original prefab. After creation of prefabs, delete from the hierarchy. So now we will use a editor script to replace prefabs on a reference tree models. You can find link in the description to download the script. This script I found from Unity Wiki. You can find in various places. Create a folder called editor and place the script inside. Then only this editor script compiles. You can see replace selection under game objects menu. Select all tree A objects and reference model and drag and drop prefab into a replacement object area and click on replace button. We can see tree A prefab placed on the same place, and you can check the values of transform, rotation, scale values match as per the reference. Once you add all the prefabs, you need to select prefab and move from the reference. For that, all the trees to a terrain object. Then we can turn off the reference object. So the newly created terrain is with all prefabs, which is optimized. If you make the transform to 0 and scale to 1, you can see the newly created trees is exactly like a prefab. Thanks for watching.